we just listen out
Attention!
for the start here.
Go!
Goes off cleanly there. Yeah. Really aggressive out of the blocks. They just be through a routine. They practice this all the time.
Nice strong start there from the Molesey Boat Club A crew on the right-hand side. Tideway Scullers School A crew looking a little frantic. They'll need to just settle themselves here. It's really important in a boat like the Cox 4, which is a bit heavier, a bit more load to pick up. You really do need to ensure that you're squeezing off that boat rather than punching it too hard, because it's just an unforgiving boat.
It really is. It's very hard work. And the Scullers crew will have some ideas what kind of race profile this Molesey crew did, because their B crew raced yesterday. So they're Molesey out to about a canvas or so, but it's still a long way to go.
Great shot there of Theo Darlow, the stroke of the Molesey Boat Club A crew.
Yeah, and the crews now should be settling into a race rhythm, and they're just going to have to now, it's going to be stroke for stroke battling this out. Who's going to row the longest for the longest? So you heard there half a length. That was the man in the box at the first quarter mile post saying that Molesey has put half a length on Tideway Scullers. It's a very easy rhythm there in the Molesey crew, isn't it? Very horizontal, not much wasted effort.
Yeah, they're doing a great job here, Molesey. Like you say, no wasted effort. There's no additional movements. It's really important in the Cox 4. You can't afford to have anyone hanging around at the front end of the stroke at the catch or sitting too far back on it. It just needs to be really tight, the stroke.
Yeah, because you've got the dead weight of the Cox, it actually decelerates quite a lot on the recovery, so you don't want to make adding to that at all. You want to, as quickly as possible, get the blade in and just stop the decaying speed.
And it is completely different to how you would row a 4 without a coxswain. You know, those who are watching might think, well, what's the difference between a 4-person boat with a coxswain or a 4-person boat without a coxswain? But they really are entirely different boats to coach and to row as well. I coached the Australian Junior Men's Cox 4 in 2016 at the World Championships, and we'd done our whole season in the Coxless 4, and then the selector said, actually, we want to send you in the Cox 4, and it was such a different way of rowing, and we had to do a lot of work on changing the profile of the stroke from the 4, which is typically longer and lopier, a much rangier sort of rhythm, to being this really aggressive, tight stroke without too many additional movements, because like you say, you pay for it. You pay for that additional load.
You do, and you end up spending probably a little bit more time in the water in the Cox 4, so that means your rhythm at the same rate is a bit different, because you have to move forward a bit quicker in order to make up for that. It's just harder work. And the Scullers crew here doing a good job. They've sort of kept themselves in the race, rowing really nicely. Still a lot to play for here. Yeah, what do you think? About half a length or so gap. Molesey sort of just keeping that distance that they got off their start.
Yeah, really just sitting there. It's always important at these points in time, I think, to make a decision, to make that commitment to go. And it's difficult when you're coxing, you're in the lead, and you can't actually see the other crew. So I assume that the bowman's maybe giving the coxswain some feedback. The cox we saw there, Scott Cockle from Molesey Boat Club, just looking across, he would have been able to see the bow ball, no doubt, of the Tideway Scullers School A crew off to his left-hand side. But you don't have very good vision, and so it is really hard to know what is going on and to make sure that you're fully onto those moves, because you don't want to just sit there with a crew. You need to get to the point where you break away and you extend that lead. Yeah,
and it's also an interesting dynamic, because the cox and the bowman have to communicate, because the bowman can see and the cox is making the calls. And normally in an 8, the stroke man is communicating. So in this situation here, the stroke man, if he wants to do something, it's quite hard for him to get the message down to the cox to make the crew call.
That's right.
So they has to trust the bowman to do it. Yeah, that Tideway Scullers School still digging in, staying on top of it. A bit of a look there. They're really going to have to stay there now for the next minute and start to make some inroads into this. Otherwise, Molesey are going to just hold them off to half a length.
Yeah, still stuck at that half a length. If I was in that Molesey crew, I'd be the coxswain. I'd be saying, all right, we need to break and end this, because it does look like the Tideway Scullers School is perhaps moving up to about maybe just over that halfway mark. Or no, they're probably holding the same margin, but they really are in striking distance here. They need to be careful.
They do, because the Molesey got all their speed from their start, but the cruising speed is actually very similar between the two crews. So unless Molesey have been doing less work and can now row away, I think this is going to be an interesting finish to the race. But Scullers do need to start making some inroads. It's not, 2 minutes to go. It's quite a long way to make up. Cox fours don't change speed very easily.
That's right. They do take a lot longer to wind up. We saw a great move from the Molesey women's four in the Town Cup a couple of races ago, where they made a very decisive move. They took about 2 lengths to get themselves from almost a length down to a length in the lead. It was an incredible turn of speed in only about 20 or 30 strokes. That's not going to be the case in the Cox four. You don't have that capability, so Molesey just need to keep chipping away if they want to get rid of the Tideway Scullers School. But alternatively, Tideway Scullers have an opportunity to bring themselves back into this race.
So do you think in a situation like this that you might actually, if you're in the Molesey crew, the crew might just call the race now?
If I was in that crew and I was not getting the coxswain making that decisive decision, I may break ranks and say, all right, we've got to do it.
We've got to get it done here. And we're coming down to the last 100 metres or so. It does look like Molesey are going to hold them off. The Scullers really keeping the pressure on them, and it's still only just over half a length.
Very tight all the way down the track here. Tideway Scullers desperate to get themselves back up there.
It's the ultimate club boat, isn't it? It's the Cox pair, Cox four. And just what a great race between these two crews.
Very tight finish there, no doubt. Helen Taylor, coach of the Molesey Boat Club crew, will be delighted with that, getting through to the Saturday.